Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, everybody.
Welcome to the crazy room again. We got Bill with us. And if you guys haven't been over to his channel to Adventures, what is it again?
Model Railroad Adventures with Bill. Yeah, I
With Bill.
renamed it. Used to be William A., but it's like, yeah, it's an adventure, so let's just kind of go with that.
Yeah, last time we had him on the show, he was telling us about his N scale and his HO scale layouts that he's got in his garage. Well, he's now building an O scale and ON30. I don't know where he got that idea to do.
I figured we had to have you back on the show again. I mean, you're just off the rails.
Yeah.
I don't know if you
all right.
guys can hear me. I'm getting a lot of distortion on my
Yeah,
end, so I
you're
might
kind
have
of
to
soft. I'm
drop
having
and
a little hard
reconnect.
time to hear you. I'm a little.
Yeah, I can hear you okay. Oh, he's going to take a break. So while he's doing that, why don't you say hello to everybody, Steve?
I will do that. Make sure I've got this set so I can see everybody. Got Boxcar Jerry Satz. Good morning, Jerry. We got John Tanzillo, Rob T. Man. We got lots of Johns. John Schuylkill River Valley, Bernard, Lee, Al Mar. Good morning, Al. Did I get everybody? I thought there was more than that. Anyway, good morning, everybody.
No, they've just been talking a lot.
Yeah, they've been talking. Do I see trains running in the background, Bill?
Yes, you do. I have the newest layout up and running. So I've got the O scale part of it that works, and then the ON30, I've got a Heisler. I have no idea how to pronounce it.
Heisler.
Log buggies. Heisler,
Heisler.
running around on the ON30 right now. So everything is working. I have the track's not glued down yet. I'm going to work on that this weekend a little bit. I've got to put some switch machines on my switches so I can juice up my frogs. But yeah, it's working, and it's working pretty good. I haven't had any derailments. I haven't lost any equipment over the abyss.
I know you've got a pretty good grade on that. You're close to 6%?
It is yeah, I've probably got a maximum of 6% in a couple of spots, but it's like 5% all the way around for the ON30. There's only the one little spot right in front of me, and let's see here if I can just kind of, this one little spot right in front of me where I've got a little bit of switching is level. Otherwise, everything else is, well, you can see the grade behind. It goes from 0 elevation to roughly 10.5-inch elevation at the what I call high point before it starts the downhill run. You can see the little Heisler over there kind of going on up.
Well, it looks like it navigates it just fine.
Yeah.
It does. I have a variety of ON30 equipment that I've got from Bachman over the past few years, including the 2442 articulated. That runs just fine on this too, which means I didn't make any of my curves too sharp. Think about an 18-inch minimum radius, probably a little bit bigger because I went on the outside radius of the cork just so that I could gain a little bit more. But yeah, everything runs on this thing. I haven't had anything derail. The only thing I've got is, like I said, the frogs on these microengineering code 70 switches are not powered, so I've still got to juice them up, and the engine stalls on one particular switch over here until I get it wired up. That'll be a weekend project, but I'll show you the whole thing running here in just a second. I'll get the ON30 or the O scale up and moving too here. So just,
where do you find the time to do all this? My goodness.
After work.
That's a 4-letter word there.
I have an understanding wife that knows that if she can't find me, I'm in the garage. So I come out here in the evenings and on the weekends, and this is where I play.
Yeah.
So let's see if I can get this. So that's my mostly scratch-built O-scale trestle. I had some, Grand Central Gems bents, and then everything else I added to that. And that one I've actually got built on sectional track. I made sectional track into the bridge track.
Okay.
One thing I know that I need to get is I need to get some O-scale Pennsylvania cabooses. I have not been able to find any that I could afford that are not brass. But you get a decent perspective of how the layout looks. 4.5 by 15 feet. The O-scale has 2 staging tracks, which are going to be hidden, so I can run different trains on this. The intent is that this is going to be a show layout. That I'm about less than 2 years now before I retire, and I want to take this and kind of display and have some fun, share the love of model railroading. And it comes apart. It's sectional, so this whole thing will break in half, actually into thirds. I have not cut the track on the ON30 yet. I won't do that until I get it glued down, but it's
Now,
something that gives me a lot of enjoyment. I'm going to have a lot of fun doing scenery on it.
yeah.
I would imagine, yeah.
Now, how would you transport that with a open trailer? I mean, with it being that tall.
No, it won't be. I'm going to make it where it'll be about 7 feet at the maximum.
Oh,
So on
geez.
some of those taller closed trailers, like a U-Haul, should be able to get it in.
Yeah.
And I got just a selection of trees that I scratch built just sitting out here. You can kind of get a sense of how that's going to look with the O-scale equipment.
Yeah.
Wow.
Looks good.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna keep me out of mischief for sure here.
I saw you on your latest, I think it was your latest update, you had some tree kits from Campbell's scale models.
Yeah, I do.
And I had picked up a couple on eBay too. One of them had been opened. I haven't opened the other one because the bags are sealed and the fern in there gets dried out if you get them open. That fern starts to dry out pretty bad. But
Yeah,
they make a beautiful tree. They just aren't going to look good on my layout because they're so different from the other stuff I've got on there. But
I've got the same thing. I got 2 boxes. The hobby shop that I go to in Cedar Falls, Iowa, had them on clearance for like $2 a box. So I got them.
Wow.
One of them is the same as you were talking about. It has it's been opened. The ferns are kind of dried out, but I'm going to try soaking them in dilute white glue just to see if I can get them to come back to life. And the color I don't care. But if I can get the ferns to be salvageable, then I can spray paint them later and get them back to where they look halfway decent.
Yeah. Yeah, that might be an option. I'd have to find a place to put mine because, like I say, they're just way different and a lot bigger than what I've already got on the layout. So
yeah,
if I do that, they'll look at a place, I'm sure.
Yeah,
but
we're like on this one. The Campbells are actually small trees compared to some of them that I've got. Like some of these that I've got shown over here are almost 14 inches tall. And then I've got up on the shelf back there, I do have some that are 15 inches tall that I've scratch built. And I'll be building a lot more for this layout. And a lot of these that I've got here are some of the first ones that I was playing with last spring. And I've refined my technique a lot since then. And I'm going to come back in and I'll be able to rework these to make them look a lot more realistic.
Well, they look pretty good.
Yeah.
Sitting there just like they are.
They're not bad, and for background trees they would be okay. But I've been able to come in, and I don't see one of the more modern, but these are all furnace filter trees, and I've learned to come in and and the newer ones really make the furnace filter super thin, more like what this little guy is, and then take a pair of scissors and just chop the bejeebies out of them so that you get rid of that roundish or squarish look, however the original was. It looks more natural for branches. It makes it open. It's more airy. But then you can come back in and you can use 2mm static grass as well. And you can just spray the trees with, cheap hairspray and then just sprinkle static grass from about 6 inches above. It'll get a natural charge as it's coming through the air, and when it lands on the foliage, it looks good. You don't have to use the, you don't have to hook the wires up to them or anything to kind of get it to look natural.
John Tanzillo's got a question. He wants to know if your garage is heated and cooled.
Kinda. It has a furnace in it, so it gets a little bit of air, from that furnace that comes in. And it also, we have central AC, so there will be a little bit of AC that comes in as well. But in the winter, like right now in Richmond, it's cold. I've got like a small space heater that I'll plug in for about an hour before I come out here, and it makes the garage nice and warm. Since the main door doesn't get open very often, it stays pretty comfortable. It gets into the low 60s in winter, and in the summer it might make upper 70s, so not too bad.
Bernard wants to know if you're going to share your new and improved secret on your trees. That was pretty much it there, wasn't it?
That was pretty much it. And some of my older episodes on my YouTube channel, I've got how to make them. So I've got a series on how to do twist pines using the rustic wire, in which all of the trunks on these are made out of floral rustic wire. You can get that at craft stores. Got one for how to do the furnace filter trees. And then I've got some for how to make some really cool looking deciduous trees. So I got them out there. They're from last year. So I've got like 168 episodes on there. And I think they were in, I don't know, maybe 90s or something like that. So yeah, they're available.
Hey, Claude, can you put a link to his channel up? Because Heath was wondering if he had by the way, hi, Heath. If he had a YouTube channel. And oh, yes, he does.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, he's got one.
Railroad Adventures with Bill. There's lots of stuff.
Yeah, I'll get it here just a shake. And I get it pulled up. I can put it up there. Okay. Well, there we go. Now we're up there. Okay, here you go, Heath, and everybody else. That's the link to his channel. And if I remember, I'll put it in the description of the show at the end, but I don't know if I'll remember. I'm starting to have that problem.
So how much rolling stock do you have for your O and your ON30, Bill?
So for the O scale, I don't have a lot. I've got probably about another 10, 15 cars that I've picked up off eBay. I do have several more engines for the O scale. Again, eBay purchases, like the Pennsylvania that I've got running right now, I got for like $35 off eBay. I've got some Burlington Northern stuff that I got a whole train set for like $75 off eBay. It's all Atlas, runs on the Atlas 2-rail system. A handful of cars. Some of the cars that are running right now on the O scale, got them from trains. They have like little bundles of some older Craftsman kit type stuff that people have been selling. Pretty good deals on that, about $50 for 3 O scale cars that already had like the KD couplers on them, knuckle couplers. They run pretty good. Yeah. I've got on the ON30, not quite as many cars, but I'm not going to be doing as much with it. So I've got another set of log buggies to go with like the one set that's running right now. I've got a handful of tank cars and a few other things. Then I've got a variety of motive power for the ON30 that I've picked up mostly off of Train World when they were having a lot of their closeout. You can pick up a good ON30 engine for sometimes as low as $99 and about 120 for some of them. For right now on eBay, crap, they're being listed for like $300 on some of those, and people have got bids on them. It's just crazy. Yeah, it's nuts. I bought one thinking I might make a Christmas tree train up, and I got it, and even though it's O scale, it's ON30, it's just not very big. It's not much bigger than HO scale. Yeah, I think I'd really rather have a G scale for the Christmas tree if I was going to do it. But G scale would stand out. I had some like those heavy haulers or something like that, the real plastic battery operated ones years ago for G scale. Those look pretty cool, and they're perfect for under a Christmas tree. Yeah, because then if they get kicked or something, it's no big deal. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so I've got an ON30
Denver and Rio Grande Western in the Bumblebee pattern. It's a nice looking loco. I'm just not going to be running it. I could run it on my layout because I do have standard gauge HO on mine, but I don't know that it would fit under the tunnels or any of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it probably wouldn't. I'm going to swap out motive power. So the hand of God is Muzi Heisler, and I'm going to put something else on to run while we're talking here.
Well, he's got to jump. He's going to the NMRA meeting in Long Island. So take care, Heath.
Yep. See you later, Heath.
Oh my goodness! Wow.
So, does anybody else have questions? Have you guys seen his new updates? I know some of you are already subscribed to him, but if you haven't seen his newest updates, I hadn't seen it. For some reason, I got the notification bell turned off on him, and I wasn't getting them. But then I went back in and watched them. Yeah, and I was like, I couldn't believe he's building another scale.
I saw that, and it's like, oh my God.
Blew me away. Oh, and then I got to looking at his track plan, not his track plan per se, but kind of some of the features in it. And I'm thinking, that looks really familiar. I don't know where I've seen that before. With a mountain and two bridges, because you're going to do another bridge, narrow gauge bridge above the first trestle, right?
Yes. Yeah. There's going to be a section of curved track, a nice curved trestle up there. Then a long one where it crosses over in the center part, kind of behind the trees that I was showing just a little while ago. I'm going to have a couple of other smaller ones probably in different areas of the layout. But, I want scenery that for this one, it'll go from the base of that big O scale trestle up to the top. I'm going to have probably about a 3.5 foot separation between the top and then where the canyon bottoms out for that O scale trestle. And then lots of trees, lots and lots and lots of trees.
Oh,
I got a stupid question, but because I know the answer, you don't have the time, but do you have any other hobbies or interests? What do? You probably don't have time to do anything else.
Oh, actually, I do. I enjoy a lot of gardening, planting, landscaping, avid reader. In an earlier career, I'm a trained geologist. So I've got my degrees in geology and physical geography. I stay current in that, belong to the Geological Society of America. So I do a lot of reading and staying current in that field, as well as what I'm doing currently, which is a maintenance group. Oops. I should have moved my log buggies. I got my little truck here pushing them. There we go. Yeah, so this occupies my time. This keeps me out of mischief. And it started, like everybody else, long ago. Grandfather got me interested in the hobby, but then a few years ago, pre-pandemic time period, seen a gentleman that had a blog out of England. Started looking at it. One of his things was, just do it, just get off the armchair and plunge into it. And it's like, what? I got a garage. I had a workshop in the garage, and the tools I hadn't used for a long time. I'd still do things, but I didn't need the massive stuff that I had. So started getting rid of it, and then the HO scale got built, and we got into the pandemic. The N scale got built, and I had already started to acquire the ON30 stuff, which I was just going to have as a display piece up in the office. That didn't last long, and then it started like, I'm going to buy a little more. Oh, hey, that's cool. I'm going to get that. And then it's like, well, you know what? I'm going to go to O scale. I think I want to run some O scale too. And one thing leads to another, and then here you go. You've got a garage full of trains.
Yeah. How often do you just sit down and run trains? Just play with trains?
Quite often, actually. And in fact, like in the next video that I'll post, I'm showing operating the full loop. The videos I got that I put out are about 2 weeks behind where I'm actually at with projects on the layout. And towards the end, you'll get sort of a big panoramic view of the layout. Well, I'm just sitting on the stairs leading into the house, just kind of watching the trains run and just relaxing and having a cup of coffee. So I like to do that.
Yeah.
I like the way you do your videos, that you don't have to wait for a long time to see what you're doing. You'll record a section and then do something and record it and put it all together. So you see quite a progression just in one video.
Yeah, I personally like that, where you're doing little segments and you can see, like you said, hey, I'm gonna do this. This is what my plan is, and then the next piece is maybe an in progress shot, and then an after one is showing, hey, the trains are running, and it was successful, or in some cases not successful, and hey, changed plans. This is what I'm going to do different.
Yeah, you do very good updates. I like how you do them. As opposed to how I do mine most of the time.
Well, generally
I never got
post long videos. You don't want to sit down for 20 or 30 minutes to watch a video. You don't have time.
Yeah.
Or, if somebody watches, soldering or building structures and things, but yours is really fun to sit down for 20 or 30 minutes and watch your progression.
Well, and I like seeing some of the how-tos, like on your tree sections, how you did those, because it's very, very good knowledge to have if you want to, do trees or something. But my channel, I never started my channel to do any of that. Mine was strictly just to show, how I was coming along with it. And I try not to get it too long. And I always try to have something to show, because I'm not a lot of times going to sit and build something. I have a couple of those where I was building and we were chatting and stuff, but it's never been a how-to.
Yeah, and I never intended mine to be sort of a how-to, but it sort of morphed into doing it that way, simply because I would get into something and I would be just using common materials and different things that I had laying around. And I would see on a lot of YouTube channels and a lot of really good stuff that's out there, but it's like a lot of specialty type things and a lot of things people would buy that were like, maybe out of the price range of just somebody who's just having fun with the hobby. So I would start to show what I was doing to, just get things moving along and using just what I had on hand and just some techniques and different things that, hey, you can be innovative in the hobby and it doesn't have to cost you an arm and a leg.
Yeah. And I personally like doing that, seeing what I've got laying around that I can make into something. It's not as easy. It's not as easy, I find, in the model trains, at least in what I'm doing, as opposed to when I was doing RC airplanes, because I would go to the hardware store and get on the specialty hardware aisle, and the guys would come say, "Can I help you?" And I said, "I don't know what I'm looking for yet." Well, I know what I'm looking for, but I haven't found it. When I find it, I'll know.
I won't know it till I see it.
Yeah, because I'm going to make something else out of what it is. And so once I hear that, then they go, "Oh, okay." They leave me alone. Let me run around the store and see if I can find what I was looking for to make whatever I was going to try and make. Yeah. But I find that part fun to do, trying to solve a problem like that.
Yeah, it is. And it's fun to use older equipment. Now, some of the newer stuff that's out there is just beautiful beyond belief. But it's also, makes my pocketbook sort of crinkle up and shriek in tears that, if you want to buy something like that.
Yeah.
So as you've seen on mine, like on the, again, all of my ON30, either eBay or, a Train World on clearance, the O scale, again, eBay for just about all of it. I haven't bought any new O scale stuff. The same HO, some of that equipment is 50 years old, even some of it even more, and old kits. Again, eBay purchases, a few things bought from hobby shops at normal prices. But, I'm cheap, and I'll be honest about it. I'll get decent quality lumber for the bench work because, again, you have to have good foundation for something or else it's not going to work. And since everything of mine is on wheels, I have to have the ability for it to withstand moving around in the garage and, repeat abuse, that kind of way. And on the N scale, same thing, a lot of eBay stuff, a few things I've bought new, but, it's just what people can afford. That's, it's not that I couldn't afford to get the nice thing once in a while, but honestly, I don't want to. I like working with the older stuff and having fun with it. You can experiment more. And if it doesn't work, you know what, you're not out as much and you can go, oh, okay, I'll try it again on something else.
Yeah. Well, the mistake I made was going HON3 because there's nothing in that scale that's cheap. It's all expensive, more so than what you would find in just straight HO. But I found a set of 3 box cars that came in a set together that were old billboard reefers, and they're really nice little kits. I mean, you may have to dress them up just a little bit, but they've got some really nice features to them. And they made some good stuff like that before everybody started making everything really cheap.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of like tools, like we were talking about earlier. You know, the older stuff a lot of times was better than what you can find now.
Oh yeah, it is. And the older stuff, you know, like in model trains, you know, there's a period from the like late 60s into the 70s where, you know, it's like you just, you know, cross your fingers and just look away from it before it's, you know, melts your eyes. But there's a lot of other stuff earlier and later that, you know, just a little light weathering will kind of hide the fact that, you know, maybe some things are a little out of proportion and, you know, it's not quite, you know, as exact as what the reality would like it to be. But when it's on a train and it's running through a nicely scenic layout, nobody cares. It just looks cool.
Yeah, exactly. I saw somebody had, Dwayne was saying he keeps all his old guitar strings for steel cables on his N scale. Yeah, that's a good idea. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff like that you can use. Dowels, not dowels, but bamboo skewers for wood piles and stuff like that, or for trees for that matter.
I use the bamboo skewers. They're the tops of my pine trees.
Yeah.
You know, and how I'd make them, you know, I'd do the cutoffs on that rustic wire after I built the trunks, and then I would put them on and use a little shrink wrap or heat shrink on it. And, you know, I've got my pointy top rather than a blunt top. That
was a good idea. That was a really good tip.
Well, it's like I've got all kinds of sheets of sandpaper because I was building model airplanes, wood airplanes. And I was looking for something for roofing material on one of the kits because I didn't like the roofing material I had in the kit. And I thought, you know, that'll look just like a gravel roof or a composite roof, you know, if you do it right. And so most of the roofs on my kits that I built, even the roundhouse that I did, is all sandpaper.
Yeah.
And then I'll take a stain and stain it up a little bit, and you know, that weathers it a little bit, and it looks really good. All the flats on the back, almost all the flats I've got against the backdrop are all sandpaper, you know, just strips because they're flats.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
it looks really good on there. So
yeah,
you can find all kinds of stuff laying around that'll work. You just have to have a little imagination.
Yeah, exactly. To be a little bit creative doesn't take much. It's just looking through what you've got and figuring out how to repurpose it.
Well, that's what Bernard says. We're good at kings at repurposing.
We are. You know, you grab something that normally you'd throw away, but you look at it and go, hey, this little piece of rod that I just cut, hey, I can keep that. That'll look, you know, I can weather it up. It'll be a piece of junk or something later on somewhere.
That sometimes is a sore point.
You can buy something else with all the money you're saving.
That's sometimes a sore point with my wife because she walked out my shop. She goes, "What are you doing with all this crap in here?" I said, "Well, I might use it." So the garage is full of stuff like that, you know, and I kind of got that from my dad because he went through, you know, depression, that sort of thing, and he never threw anything out. And so I'm kind of like that. I'm better than he is, but not a lot. I mean, I still got that same thing. I don't want to throw it away if I possibly think I could use it.
Yeah, same with my family. My dad and his brothers went through the depression, and my dad was bad, but not as bad as some of my uncles. Some of my uncles would have like a farm storage shed just crammed full of, you know, hey, you'd have like seriously 100 rakes. What do you do with 100 rakes? And you'd ask him about it. He goes, well, it's okay. You know, I get a few more every time I go to an auction. They're always handy. And it's like, come on, you got to be kidding me.
Well, it's guaranteed that you'll keep something for 20 years and not use it and then throw it away and you need it the next week.
Yeah. And I've seen that. I went through, again, when I was, you know, working on this and I redid my bench work or my workspace on the other side of the N scale layout. And I had tons of nuts and bolts and connectors and things that, you know, I would open a drawer and there they'd be, and I hadn't used them probably in literally 30 years. And I'd get rid of them. And then as soon as I got rid of like about 50 pounds of them, you know, I'm scrounging and it's like, wait a minute, I didn't save any of this size. It's like, crap. Then I got to go to Lowe's and I got to buy some, and then you start the collection all over again.
Yep, I do the same thing. I've got tons of bags of nuts and bolts that I bought for one project and only bought 4 or 5 of them. and still had most of them left when I got done with the project I was doing. So if I ever get out there and actually put it out, I could open up a hardware store, I'm sure. But yeah, I understand that too. You buy something and you don't use it all and you don't want to throw it away. But yeah, usually if you throw it away, then you're going, I know I've got one of those, because you're doing a project later and you go down and, where is it? I can't find it.
Yeah, you're guaranteed of needing it within probably a month of the time that you actually disposed of it. And then you buy extra when you go to buy more, because you're going to need it at some time again, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. What do we got going in chat here?
Let's see.
Lee was saying he uses fish wire to make fences. Yeah, that'll work.
That works.
Rob says that's what a kitchen junk drawer is for.
My wife keeps organizing that junk drawer, so all the stuff that I think's in there is not in there.
I'm not allowed to have one.
Well, you got your shop though. That's why it looks like it does.
That's my junk drawer.
Yeah.
She won't come out.
We got a junk drawer in the kitchen, and it's we've been in this house 5 going on 6 years, and it shows it. It started off with like a couple of things left over from the move in, and now you're in there and moving stuff around, and hey, look at this, throw it away because you're never going to use that, and then add some more stuff to it.
Yeah, exactly.
Anybody got any more questions for Bill?
Oh yeah, well, like Dwayne said, we were talking about this last week, where you can't find it. So you buy a new one, then you find the original. I'm guilty of that too. Or forget that you had it. Yeah. It was not that I couldn't find it. I didn't think I even had one.
Well, I end up having 5 of one thing, and I can't find any of them.
That too. And Bernard, I know. Good for our failing memories. Now, where did I put that 15 years ago?
Roy Eltham wants to know, Bill, what's the next scale you're going to build?
Oh, there you go.
So funny that question comes up.
Here's your next one.
Your wife's not listening, is she?
She actually doesn't care. She's given up a long time ago. When I started to build the O scale in here, she's like, I'm not ever getting my Jeep back in again, am I?
Nope.
It's like, no, it's staying outside. It's been outside for a year. It's not hurting. I showed you that it could be okay. You're never getting in the garage. So what I do have, and I've only got a little bit, and it came from an eBay purchase as an accidental buy that I never bothered to send back, is that I ordered a box of N-scale flex track. It was listed as N-scale, and from the pictures it looked like it was N-scale because I was working on the N-scale at the time. Got it here, and I took a piece out and was like, that's N-scale, and I fished out some of my N-scale stuff and looked, and it was a lot smaller. So I think Z-scale is going to be a potential next little project, maybe for like an office layout, because I've got a box of Z-scale flex track. And I got it at a super good price off eBay. And, I was looking after I found out what it was. I was looking at what they were asking for it on eBay, and I was like, ooh, I'm going to keep that because I got a really good deal. And if I wanted to sell it later, I could make my money back.
How about in that top level of your ON30, use your Z scale, make a miniature steam tourist railroad?
Now, I did consider that, not with Z scale, but with N scale. And I thought about it, and then I opted to not, because I did play with some doodles on how something like that could work, but it won't work with what I'm going to do. And on this, I'm going to put a divider, not down the center of the layout, but more towards the side where the bridges are. And it's going to go across the 6 foot segment completely. And then it's going to go about 1.5 feet, 2 foot into the other sections. And then it's going to kind of curve down into the mountain that's built up around it. And the trees will kind of hide it, blend it in. But it's just going to be in an area where I'm going to have all of the tall trees, and I couldn't do a forced perspective because of how I'm going to do this to kind of put the view block from one side to the other where it would look good. So I did give it some consideration. And I was also thinking I've got like a bunch of HO scale, like like some of the old kits for like the old forest mill type things where you can make ties and planks. That's an HO scale that I might be able to tuck into a place to kind of try a forest perspective. I've got a few odds and ends that I'm going to use to kind of do that, but I think it just wouldn't, I couldn't pull it off on a 4.5 foot wide layout. And in the center part, it's only about 3.5 foot wide. So I just couldn't get it to where I think it would look decent.
Yeah.
But I
John
did give it a
Tanzilla wants to
consideration.
know if, I'm sorry, John Tanzilla wants to know if all your layouts are DC or DCC.
No, so it's a combination. So right now, the O scale part of this newest layout is straight DC. It's old equipment, and all it is going to be just turn it on and run it. The ON30 is all DCC. I'm using just an old Tech 2 power pack right now, just as I'm testing track. I've got to get a DCC system for that just so that I can run it. The HO scale is straight DC. It's old engines. Like I said, some of that stuff goes back 30, 40 years, but they run beautifully on DC. And since they run on DC, I'm going to keep it with DC. The N scale is DCC. All the equipment on there is DCC, and I'm using an NCE control system on it. So I've got a mix, just kind of is based on the age of the equipment that I ended up with.
What did I say? Oh, Rob says G scale goes with gardening.
It does. I just don't have the space. Well, let me put it this way. I've got the space. I just don't want to actually put a outdoor layout in. I've seen them and I've watched videos of them. They're fantastic. They seem to be, I wouldn't say necessarily labor intensive, but with the way I've got landscaping in my yard, it would cause me to have to do an extensive rework for what I'm going to do. And this year, just based upon how expensive food is, I'm putting in a big size garden. So I've just taken space that, layout would be kind of fun outside, but nah, I just don't see that happening, at least in the next couple of years. I won't say never, but at least not anytime in the near future.
Yeah. Well, and it's for me, it'd be all the bending over and getting to the ground and stuff like that, because that's where I have trouble now, is getting down back up, all the time, working on something like that. In my younger days, it would have been easy peasy, but I would have loved doing something like that. But
yeah, after I had the back surgery last spring, it's like, I can get down, but like you said, it's not that easy getting back up.
Yeah.
And to work in some of those positions anymore, it's only a few minutes and then the back starts to ache. So it's just not worth it.
Yeah, exactly. Some of the best garden railroads I've seen are the ones like out in Arizona or someplace where they have dry, constant weather. They don't have here in Tulsa, Oklahoma, we get all 4 seasons, sometimes all in 1 week. So, outside railroad would be, not that there's not garden railroads around here, because they've got a pretty good club that does that, but I'd hate to have to deal with the constant maintenance that it would take outside with all the weather we get. It's just
same here. We get the 4 seasons in the north end of Richmond and the Richmond areas. Like last weekend, almost 70, and then the next day it was snowing, which really sucked.
Yeah.
But it's more the humidity. It's humid here, and things just grow rampant. If you don't catch your weeds, like as soon as they start sprouting, you can look out the window literally the next day and they've taken over an area, and then you're fighting that. And here, you have a track where you can't get a weed eater in easily, and to kind of keep it down, you'd have to be spraying constantly to keep the growth from encroaching on the tracks. It would be labor intensive in this area.
Yeah, it would be here too, unless you just had nothing but gravel. But even then, you've got to fight the weeds through the gravel. So, I'd love to have something that big, but it's never going to happen for me, for sure, unless it's around the Christmas tree. I saw somebody else had a question.
Well, Bill, you could do a G scale in your rafters above all your layouts, running in the rafters in your garage.
There's no rafters up here.
Okay.
So I don't have that ability.
That's probably a good thing.
Yeah, the wife has been talking that, you know what, maybe someday after the kid gets out of high school that we move to a different house. And I said, sure, as long as it's got a three stall garage and a basement, I'll be happy camper. Your car will still sit outside, but I'll be happy.
And the car will still be outside the driveway.
The car
Oh,
will still be outside. There might be like a boat or something else outside with it to keep it company, but it's not coming in a
Oh, there you
garage.
go.
oh, I couldn't get away with that.
I'm lucky. I've got an
Excuse me.
understanding
Oh.
wife. She appreciates this is my vice. So it's like if she needs to find me, I'm either out in the backyard, she can yell out the door, or she can yell into the garage, and those are the two places I'm going to be.
Yeah.
And if I go to the lumber yard or some other place, it's like, hey, I'm going there, and she knows I'm going to come back with more crap to fill up the garage.
You could be doing worse things.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. When I used to go fishing all the time.
Money.
Yeah. When I used to fish all the time, I'd be gone for a day, for full day. I'd get up before sunrise and I wouldn't be back till dark, and now she can find me, I'm just in the next room. So, especially once I got out of doing airplanes, because when I was building airplanes, we'd go to shows and we might be going 3 or 4 days. So now I'm not doing that so much. Although next Saturday, we are not having a show next Saturday, by the way, because I'm going to a train show in Arkansas. So I'm going to finally get to one. I haven't been to one in a couple of years. So hopefully.
The one I went to in Richmond, about a month ago, that was great. It was so nice. We hadn't had it the year prior. Again, all the things that were going on. This year, lots of people in attendance, a lot of vendors, lots of tables, lots of trains set up for display. And I was like, this feels so good to be able to do this again.
Yeah, they only have one decent one here in Oklahoma, and it's in Oklahoma City, and it's always the 1st of December, that time period. And it's a good show. But it's the only one. They have them every now and here in Tulsa, but they're not worth going to. They're not even worth driving to, much less paying to get in. So I don't bother with those. But and which is weird because it's not like there's not some train clubs here, but they're always traveling to the bigger shows.
Gonna set another engine on and let it run. I'm gonna get out my articulated, which actually runs well on this here.
Okay.
Let's see. Rob T-Man wants to know if you have extreme temperature changes in your garage, Bill.
No, the temperatures stay fairly constant. Middle of winter, maybe as low as 58. Middle of summer, maybe 78. Again, like I showed earlier, one of the house's furnaces and central air is sitting in the garage. So I get some heat that comes out in the winter when the furnace is going. I get some cold when it's going in the summer. And then I don't open that door very often. It's an insulated garage door. So if that stays shut in the summer, keeps the cool air in here and it's comfortable. Same in the winter. Got a little space heater I'll turn on for a few minutes. When I'm out here and it's cold, it takes the chill off the air. So it doesn't really go too crazy on me here.
Yeah, we did the same thing. We built this house about 7 years ago. And I told the guy, I said, I want the garage insulated. And he looked at me kind of funny. And I said, I want it insulated. Because I knew the doors were going to be insulated. And I thought, I've been in garages that had outside walls insulated, which they don't around here. They don't normally do that. And it's amazing the difference in the garage versus outside, even when it's really, really cold.
Huge difference when you're able to do that. And here it doesn't get that bad. Richmond, we're in the South. It has a short winter season. It has nice spring and fall, but the temperatures can change enough. And this house is fairly well insulated, so the garage stays fairly well insulated, which is nice. So I'm getting out all of my toys here. So this has all been running, but the little 2442. This one I wasn't sure was going to run on the layout. And I was testing everything last weekend and found out this thing runs really nice on the layout. So the curves are not too sharp for it.
Steve, this question's for you. Nathan Blay says, do you scratch build locomotives and rolling stock? And if so, is some of your stuff working steam engines?
There's a lot to unpack there.
Here, a lot.
am scratch building some of the stuff on this. The locomotive, no. The locomotive was machined by a good friend of mine, but I'm scratch building the fuel car. Partially scratch built the tender on it. The tender basically was just the formed stainless sheets for the tank and the sides, but I did everything else on it, doing all the wood. As far as the N scale stuff, I scratch built the layout, but I did scratch built the cab on this. I'm never going to do another steam engine again. I know now why John said that he didn't build the tender on it, because I always bugged him. It's like, the sheet metal was sitting on the floor in his garage or in his living room the whole time I knew him. And it's like, let's get this thing done. I'll build the tender for you. I'll do the cab. And he goes, nah, I don't think so. And now I know why.
And then, of course, Roy's got a question for me. Why don't I start a train show in Tulsa? Because I'm not stupid. I'm not that stupid anyway. I wouldn't have the first idea how to start it. I'd have to get hold of the train clubs, which I'm not a member of any of the train clubs. I was a member of the airplane club here and actually president of it for a while. And I got tired of the politics just in that. So I decided I was not getting in any train clubs, even though I think it would be cool to get, to run trains with a bunch of guys. If that ever happens, I'll be coming over here and running it on mine. But
I think it would be fair to say that Bill could have a train show in his garage.
Yeah, he could.
I could, if we ever had shows in this area that I would be aware of and have layout visits, I would open it up for layout visits. I would have fun with that.
That I would do.
I'd be happy to show what I've got. Also, I want to eventually, once I retire, join some clubs. There's a couple of clubs that are not horribly far from me. And, get involved with other folks and, do some different things with the hobby. But until that time, all the stuff I got in the garage will keep me out of mischief.
Yeah. Well, and I'm not really talking down clubs per se. It's just for me. There's a lot of good that comes from being in a club. You make lots of friends, you get a lot of information, learn how to do stuff that you maybe didn't know how to do, that sort of thing. And the camaraderie of doing it. But like I say, for me, I had just had enough of it and was tired of fighting some of the stuff that we had to do, because we had all kinds of safety issues that we were having problems with, and it just got to be too much. So I stopped doing that, and now I'm doing trains and having a blast doing it. So, but no, I have thought about maybe doing a very small layout, a narrow gauge layout that I could take to a show. I have thought about doing that, but I want to get a lot further along with my layout that's upstairs before I do something like that.
Here's a question for you, Claude, from Nathan DeLay. Are you interested in the World War II stuff only for the vehicles? What I mean is like the planes and trains and model that certain timeline.
I'm not really doing World War II per se. My timeline I'm trying to keep is late 40s, early 50s. So the steam's still going strong, but the early diesels are also there. On my narrow gauge, I have no diesels except for a little switcher that I bought that a guy converted. But that's my time period. It's not really war stuff. I'm not planning on having trains running around with tanks and stuff like that on it. So hopefully that answers your question. I don't know if it does or not, but that's what I'm shooting for. And get Bill.
Let's see. Looking for any other questions.
Yeah, see, Bill, my grade is on my narrow gauge is not quite that steep. I'm just under 4% going up through the helix. But because I've got Blackstone engines that are notoriously not great pullers uphill, I have already planned or had always planned to do double heading on mine.
You know, I
Yeah.
think the Roaring Camp and Big Trees, I think their grades are pretty close to 6% down there in Santa Cruz. They're pretty steep.
Well, the Cumberson Toltec there and out of Chama going up to Antonito, Colorado, is the highest contact, steepest and highest, I think, contact railroad in the world.
Mm-hmm.
There's one point where they're almost 5%.
And on mine, I'll have to experiment as I go. You know, I intended on it being small trains anyway, so there will not be a whole lot of cars being pulled by any particular engine at any given time on this, which is perfect, because again, I don't want to be mindful of things derailing, which so far I haven't had anything derailing. But yeah, it's fun watching them on the grades, because they definitely struggle going up on this stuff, and that's actually fun to watch.
Yeah, there was a comment back. I forget who it was. I have to go back and look, but it made him nervous watching trains run on open bench work.
Yeah, that's why you have to really test, and you have to be certain that your track is in decent shape. So I took a lot of time as I was building the sub base and the cork and putting the track down to make sure that I was getting it good, because I would start with my small engines and run slow, make sure that there was no kinks, no obvious issues. And then I would use the bigger engines just to kind of play with it and move around on it until I was comfortable. And even now, I'm still, I've checked the rail joiners, because I don't have anything glued or tacked in place. Everything is just laying on the cork. That's going to be a project later this afternoon. I'm going to go get some construction adhesive in like the caulking tube type, and not put it everywhere, but just put it, every few inches. I'll put a little bit here, a little here. Any place where the track is kind of near joiners, I'll do on both sides, just so that it bites. Because when it's done and I do scenery and I get dirt, which I'm literally going to use dirt for my garden to put in and around, so no ballast, but just dirt, that when I white glue it, it's going to hold the track in place. So I'm just going to put it in a little bit, make sure I've got it in good place so it's not going to shift. And then later, other scenic details will actually lock it completely in.
But Bernard's got a question. He says, how did you come up with your track plans? Out of the holster, or like any rail or programs?
Out of the holster. I had an idea of what I wanted. I built the bench work with the idea in mind, laid the track out just on some scraps of wood to make sure that it would work, and then went to town. Same with the HO. Nothing, I've not really planned out anything. I just had it in my head what I wanted, and I went after it.
Yeah. I'm kind of after that. I started with a track plan, but it was just to give me the general idea of what I wanted to do. And as I built the layout, I did the track, and I put it where I wanted it to go.
Yeah, and that's the same thing. I would do a quick sketch, basically of what I had for space. So like for this one, I knew that I didn't have much garage left. It had to be about 4 feet wide. Then I got some track off eBay, and it was 24-inch radius. I was like, okay, well, 4 feet isn't going to quite work. It's going to be like hanging right on the edge. So I went another 6 inches to give me some additional room. But I worked with the space that I had, an idea of what I wanted to do, and then kind of went from there.
Yeah. I find
Good morning, Uncle Wilmer.
I find not being attached to a track plan rigidly gives me a chance to do stuff, because I know it's going to change. I've already changed stuff that I put in, and no further along than I am, and I've already changed it to something else. So, you know that's going to happen. You're either going to get tired of something or you're going to think of something else that would go better in its space. And so I find having a strict plan for me is not the best.
Yeah, and it's the same. I agree with that. You know you're going to have changes. And with this one, with the ON30 and the O scale, making it be a layout that can be transported and taken to shows, I didn't want it to be too complicated.
Yeah.
I wanted to have just a little bit in the front in this area where I can show off having some equipment, maybe a couple of buildings, a little log dump that I'm going to put right in this area. But then I just want it to run so that it's going to be going through wild scenery, huge mountains, just coming across some neat bridges with lots of trees, just to kind of show what model railroading is, and hopefully go to some places and get some kids excited to kind of get into the hobby.
Yeah. Well, because that's where I got the bug when I was little. Dad took me to I don't know if it was a train show or a fair or something, but they had a great big building that they'd set up as, I'm sure it was a club layout, and I was just fascinated with everything in miniature.
That looks great, Bill.
Yeah.
And
So
Nathan says,
my little
yeah, it does look
DC
good.
engine here.
Nathan says he finds it a lot easier to make locomotives from the ideas in my head because if I model stuff in real life, it feels like it has to be perfect. That's why I don't go prototypical, but that's my opinion. Well, Nathan, that's the nice thing about the hobbies. You don't have to, do it a certain way. You can do it however you want to do it. It's your hobby. So
and Nathan,
don't ever let somebody say it has to be a certain way.
Yeah, and Nathan, the stuff that you create is awesome. The ideas that you've got and the materials you use to build your locomotives and trains. I always enjoy watching your videos. You do really nice work.
That's a very nice layout, Bill.
Oh, well, thank you.
Oh, I had a question. I'm not sure what Bernard's saying there, but anyway, I've got a question for you. Are you going to super elevate any of the curves on this?
I am. I have been thinking about it, especially on that leg that it just went down.
Yeah, I saw that.
Picks up some speed going down the grade. The grade going well, and I can't say grade going up because that can be down too. Because I've run trains both directions and it works just fine. I will probably come back in with some little strips of strip wood, the super thin stuff, just to get it a little bit of an elevation on there. And in fact, I know that the sub-road bed, when you're cutting it out of a single sheet, it doesn't lay flat. No matter how much you try to do, you have to counter it. So there's always sort of a very slight little tilt to it. And that I'll try to counter using a little bit of strip wood sheets, just kind of in there, and it'll all get hidden under dirt later anyway.
Yeah, I super elevated the bottom loop on my standard gauge, but I didn't do the top loop. Of course, most of it's hidden, and the bottom loop's completely hidden. But on my narrow gauge, I didn't do it because they didn't super elevate the narrow gauge. And if you go to Colorado, New Mexico, and ride one, or probably anywhere else in the country, you'll see that they didn't super elevate the stuff.
Yeah.
They put it wherever they could put it, and they called it good.
Yeah.
Of course, they're usually going so slow too. That's the other thing.
Yeah. And with this, I do want to do a little bit on that one area. Again, if I'm taking this to a show and it's running, I want it to be able to be just unattended. And I have to set it at a certain speed so that it makes it uphill well, and it's the same in the other because obviously the grades are the same. It's just I don't have a loop on the other side. I've just got a longer incline, but it's still the same grade. So the downhill run, whether it's going down this way or down on the other one, goes fast.
Yeah.
And you'd have to be adjusting the throttle constantly to accommodate for speeds. Like right now I'm hands off and it's running well.
Yeah, it is running well.
Mm-hmm.
and seems to climb just fine up the grade.
Yeah, a couple of cars, and the other engines actually today are kind of a little finicky because I haven't done anything with them for a couple of days, and they've only been run like the little Heisler here has only been run probably 20 minutes total since I got it out of the box. So I still have to do break in on it, and break in on the little crew truck and all of the other equipment. None of it's been run very long.
Yeah. Well, the other thing too, if you've got the smaller steam engines, the trains would have only been 2-3 cars tops.
Yep.
They wouldn't have been very long trains just because they couldn't pull any more than that.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I'm going to be running. This little engine, it's pulling the 2 cars right now. If I put 3 on, it probably will make it, but they have to be the light ones. So again, some of the Bachmann stuff is very lightweight, which is funny because their engines can be extremely heavy, but the cars themselves are very lightweight.
Yeah. Well, that works well then. So you get good traction on the engines, but then they're not having to pull a heavy car.
Yeah, they're not having to do too much. And in some of the videos, and I think the last video that I'd posted, like where the engine just passed, I noted on there that it had been slipping. And then in subsequent videos, I've come in that I haven't released yet, but I've taken some of the risers that are over there and dropped them like 1/4 of an inch, kind of even out some of the discrepancies and disparities in height, just to kind of smooth the elevations for the engines to run smoother.
Yeah. Okay, Bernard, understand now. Well, that's kind of why I built it like I did. I didn't want it to actually be a helix. It is a helix, but it's also running in and out of the scenery. So that's why I did mine that way. Anyway, we're actually over time.
Oh, that went fast.
Yeah. It always goes by fast when we're having a good time. Anyway, we'll call that good, guys. And
great show, Bill.
If you haven't been over to Bill's channel, run over and see what he's been doing, because it's just crazy.
I get into all kinds of mischief.
Well, and you do a good job with it too. So.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Well, thanks for coming on again.
Hey, you're welcome.
And
glad to be here. Always enjoy it.
Get out of here. There we go. Now we can say goodbye.
And you're welcome back anytime, Bill.
Yes, sir. Anytime.
That's fine. I always try to catch you guys on Saturday mornings when I have the opportunity. It's always fun to join.
Yeah.
Thanks
well, we usually have a good time.
The last minute when I talked to you.
Well, that's all right. I was planning on watching your show anyway, and I was planning on being in the garage. So, hey, it worked out perfect.
There you go. There you go. All righty. Well, you take care. Thanks again for coming on. And
you're welcome.
Oh, Roy, here you go. I think this is it. Yeah, that's it. There's the link to his channel right there. So there's a lot of good information over there too, besides just watching how well he models.
All kinds of fun stuff. HO, N scale, now ON30. So
yeah,
a little bit
Z to come.
At some point, probably a year down. I'll get this one mostly done before I start cracking that stuff out. But
yeah,
I'll start accumulating eBay purchases probably in between time.
Yeah, I'm glad I did all mine accumulating before the pandemic hit, because the prices started going up rather sharply.
Yeah, if I had space, I'd do more on the HO. I've got like totes up above in the garage, about 5 or 6 totes full of HO stuff that hasn't seen the light of day in 2 years, or years and years and years, depends upon what it is.
Yeah, Steve's the same way.
Yeah.
Anyway, we got to say goodbye. We're running way over. Anyway, everybody have a good week.
Later, guys.
Remember, no show next weekend.
We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Take care.
No show next weekend, but maybe I'll have a little bit of video from the train show.
Cool.
The week after that. So anyway, take care.
Later, guys.
All right.